Hello everybody, John here. And today onto the garage, we're trying out something a little bit different, and that is joining up with another great YouTube channel. And on the other side of the screen, I think it's going to be that side, I don't know,
Yeah.
is hopefully going to be Mark from Granblogismo.
Hi there.
So, Mark's over there. And obviously most of you who are tuning into this will have at least watched some of my videos, if not subscribed to them, so you're pretty familiar with why you've tuned in. But Mark, do you just want to give people a quick overview of what sorts of things you do on your channel?
Yeah, of course. I mean, it's mainly me just sort of larking about with my heaps, I suppose. So I've got a couple of cars which I've got lots of videos on. So one's an MGB GT 1967 model, and the other one, sort of similar to sort of John, I've got a 2004 XK8 coupe. So slightly later than John's, and it's a coupe rather than a convertible. But yeah, I'm very much a fan of John's, and I'm sure you'll see a lot of his videos. And well, it's got to be said. To be fair, I mean, it's a great resource to the garage. That's certainly what I found. But the secrets thing, I didn't know I had a cubby hole for my sunglasses until I watched that video. So you learn something new from watching. You know,
but the truth of the matter is, I'm learning as much as everybody else is. I mean,
yeah.
I obviously only picked up on your channel once you started doing the XK8 stuff. Searching around.
I'd only started doing videos sort of tail end of 2018, really. So I'd kind of been on Instagram before that with my MG, and the whole sort of thing started with an actual sort of WordPress blog that I was writing, simply just so I wasn't boring my wife to tears with all of this information that I wanted to share. So I thought that was a good outlet for it. But then, watching like YouTube and stuff, I thought, well, I might give it a go. And you know, I quite like the whole process of making a video and editing it and stuff anyway. And it kind of gives me something to do with the car. So one of the things I found with the MG certainly was, apart from regular maintenance and taking it for the odd drive, just the same old roads, doing the video regularly, it kind of pushes you to think of what different stuff can I do, what things haven't I done before, and sort of gives you sort of purpose behind just your normal sort of Sunday drive, I guess.
Yeah, it is an extension to the hobby. It makes you want to learn and chat with other people about
it. Yeah,
stuff.
Absolutely.
And again, if you enjoy the editing side of things, which is, I never did anything like this until I started doing this channel.
Right.
I actually quite enjoy it now. I would say that's one of my hobbies, is editing the movies up. I quite like it. Not any good at it, but I enjoy it.
And what you've already said as well is obviously all the comments that you get is so uplifting when people say sort of positive stuff, or you get some positive criticism as well, just to sort of make sure you're kind of giving people what they might want to enjoy and kind of put the videos out that people might like to watch, but also to make your own filmmaking better as well. So one of the things which was a real sort of bad thing about my earlier videos was that the audio quality. And somebody picked up on that in a couple of them, and that's made a heap of difference to the way that I've started making them now. And I think you've done the same thing with like the wireless mics. It kind of gives it a lot more flexibility of where you put the camera and that kind of thing. It's all those little things that you kind of get from people, and that sort of more motivation to carry on doing what you're doing.
Absolutely. The biggest train of criticism I had was sound quality. I've done a lot of mine outside as well, and I live in Lincolnshire. It's always blowing a gale. So getting, first of all, a separate mic with a dead cat, I think is the right expression. Doesn't sound right, but I think it is, on top, was step one. Then, because I wander around all the time going wireless, and I still get criticism over the sound quality. It's, you're too low, you're too high. I think you can't get it right because some people wear earphones, others have got laptop speakers. Can't do it.
That's true, and it's actually tricky as well. I found, obviously, like you say, if you're outside, it's different to if you're kind of underneath the bonnet. It's all echoey and everything, so it's tricky to sort of get it spot on.
Absolutely. And I've also managed to chop off one Lavalier mic while I was doing some wiring.
Fair enough.
Bundle of black wires.
Yeah. Well, I saw your video yesterday with the camper stuff.
Oh, Olive, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it looked pretty intense, kind of chopping these
There
big
was
sort of
there
thick
was a lot of
cables.
spaghetti involved
Yeah.
in that. It's a totally different sort of challenge. I think working on that is far more like working on a kit car. I think where
Right.
there's no original way of doing it involved.
Yeah.
Because I'm working on the camper side of things. It's kind of invent as you go, and so did the previous 8 owners.
Yeah.
So it's an entirely different challenge.
Mm.
So MGB, I actually watched one of your videos this morning because I thought, I'm going to find out what Mark's very first video looked like.
As well. I mean, there's so many of them still surviving.
I think it's the biggest car club, isn't it? The MGB Owners Club.
Yeah, I think so. It's pretty massive. I think they made like 500,000 of them or something worldwide, which is huge numbers for a sports car. And at car shows, you do sort of see quite a few of them. But I think as time goes on, and I think that one of the problems the MGB had particularly was that it had quite a long production run, and it wasn't invested in to further develop it to keep it current. So in fact, I think it actually got sort of worse towards the end as they sort of had to add the US friendly bumpers and whatever else they had to do to it.
Yeah.
And I think people sort of were left with a slightly sort of bitter taste in the mouth of the end of production MGBs being sort of slow and unreliable in comparison to the brand new sort of GTI type cars that were coming out then. So yeah, I mean, it's interesting, and I think that as time has gone on, that's become less of an issue, and people are starting to look more fondly at them. And actually, in the sort of time in between the 500,000 of them being made and now, because they have been sort of cheap for a while, some of them, and maybe people haven't invested in keeping them going, numbers have really declined. So in line with everything else in the classic world, they've kind of started to go up in value. So I mean, it's not great for people who want to get into classic cars, because a lot of people will start with an MGB because they're sort of seen as the sort of entry level sports car, classic sports car. But for people who have got them, then it's kind of good in a way that they're kind of going up in value. But
which kind of brings us to the XK8s, where I think they never dipped down as far because they were very expensive cars.
Yeah.
But they have turned the corner now and started to come up. So I think that's quite interesting as well. It's an aspiring class. I think people who only just started to twig what a fantastic looking car it is that is within reach of most people who've got a little bit of spare cash to spend on their hobby.
Yeah, certainly. I think that is the case, and I think the XK8 is one of those sort of rare cars that has styling that has really got even probably better with age. And sort of when I first saw an XK8 when it came out, you'd see one and think, oh, that's an expensive Jag, but I never sort of thought at the time, oh, that's what I really, really want. But as time goes on, you can kind of see a bit more of the sort of nods of like the heritage stuff. So obviously the styling cues from the E-Type and that kind of thing. But in contrast to modern cars, I think sort of the swoopy curves and everything, they kind of stand out a bit more.
Yes.
And I was coming back from where we went with the kids earlier on today, and I saw in our rearview mirror that there was an XK8 behind us, and it really just stood out. It was probably a good third of a mile behind us, but you could see sort of the inset wheels, the nice arches over it, the bonnet bulge was sort of glinting in the lights. So you could definitely, it was unmistakable sort of front to it. And I thought, that's a really lovely car. I'm so glad I've got one.
I know. Well, we can feel very smug about this situation.
Yeah. Then that's the thing, isn't it? It's not like an elitist club anymore. No. It's accessible, and that's what's interesting about the XK8. I think it's a lovely looking car within reach.
Yeah, you can definitely spend an arm and a leg on buying the very best of particular special editions and all the rest of it, or you can have something that's just actually transport if you really wanted to. Which brings me on to another question I've been wanting to ask somebody else who's kind of gone on the same journey as me. Admittedly, mine's a few years back now. So you decided, right, I'm going to go for the XK8. I'm going to get me one of them. I get asked this all the time, so I'm going to ask it you and just see how you react to it. And that is, oh, okay, lovely, absolutely fantastic car. You got the XK. Why didn't you get an XKR?
Yeah, well, there's kind of two reasons, I think. One is that the XK8 is known for like being such a comfortable car, and I had heard that the XKR was a slightly harsher ride. The second is that they're more expensive generally, so that's a bit of a slight sort of turn off, I guess, because it's not just more expensive to buy outright. You know, it's more expensive insurance. It's more expensive to run, etc., etc. And you know, the XK8. I mean, I'm not really that interested in going a million miles an hour. So an XK8, you get. I mean, the looks are very sort of subtly different anyway. So you're not really missing out there.
No.
And the performance. I mean, it's got 300 horsepower ish anyway. That's plenty for me. So.
Yeah. I'm very much in the same vein. My performance is adequate. It goes faster than I can. I quite like the bonnet on the XKR. I think that's
the vents. They're nice. Yeah.
The vents, but purely from a cosmetic point of view. And I think the novelty of the whine of the supercharger is quite nice as well. But for all the same reasons as you, the expense, the insurance, parts, brake parts, a lot more expensive. I actually actively went for XK8 rather than couldn't necessarily afford one.
Right.
But actually the killer for me is I don't think that the supercharged cars sound as nice with an open pipe on as the XK8s, because obviously ours are practically unrestricted, whereas the supercharged sort of affects the intake sound. And I don't know, it's less, as I think, sound like angry barges, you know, that clack, clack, clack gurgle sound.
Yeah. Classic V8 sound, I suppose.
Whereas I think it's a slightly more modern sound, very exciting for the XKR, but I can just crawl along with the window open and my arm out listening to the gurgle off mine. And I haven't fixed my exhaust in the same way as you have yet.
Right. Yeah. Well, to be fair though, if someone said, "Oh, I've got this XKR that I don't want, you can have it," I wouldn't say no.
Oh, absolutely not. Absolutely not. And on the exhaust front, I had exactly the same modification as you've got on yours, which is a stage 2 Adamesh.
Yes, that's right.
On my previous XK8.
Yeah, the famous PJ.
The famous PJ, which I've seen again. And she's still got the nice exhaust. And I loved it. And again, I get lots and lots of questions about shouldn't I do the exhaust mod? And again, you've done it far more recently. And I don't know how long you had the car before you made the swap. Any reservations having had it for a while now?
No. In fact, I took it the other day when yesterday when I went to see the new car, and it just makes me smile every time I put my foot down. Just that noise.
Yeah.
Just excellent. It's probably, I was sort of mulling it over, trying to think if there's anything better, but it's probably the single best thing I've ever done to a car, to be honest. And it just the fact that it kind of gives that noise to match the engine, I think. I mean, because the Jaguar original exhaust system, I mean, it's perfect in terms of giving the cabin like a quietness and refinement.
Yeah.
And from the outside, you get, if you put your foot down, you can still hear like a nice noise out the back, and you kind of hear kind of the engine more. And the engine's got an interesting noise as well. It's kind of like, I don't know, almost like a jet fighter sort of taking off sort of thing. It's got a nice induction roar and that kind of thing. And the exhaust does drown that out, which is a slight shame, but yeah, I just love the sound of it. it's excellent. I mean there is a downside, obviously, and that is you do hear it within the car when you're going faster speeds. I mean, I don't mind it. It's not boomy like you would if you had like, I don't know, like a Ford Focus with a big back box on it or something. It's a bit more yeah, I think it's a bit better than that, but still might be too loud for some. I mean, it's very personal sort of preference, really. And that's why a video I did recently, I kind of tried to do a bit more of a side-by-side comparison, just to give people a bit of a flavour for the standard one versus the non-standard one.
Well, I've only just not made the swap yet, purely for financial reasons. As simple as that. I just haven't had the spare pennies to spend on the system. But whether it's the Adamesh one, or I might try something just a little bit different, just to say I've done it.
Yeah, I mean, there are lots of options, aren't there, of exhausts out there. I think the Adamesh one's quite more simple because it just replaces the back of straight pipes basically. But the sort of more sort of full systems, probably more performance oriented ones rather than just sound. They'd be interested to look into, but I think they come with a bit of a higher price tag.
Yeah, that's the issue. I mean, you can very easily get into £1,500 for a catback system, and I don't know what the current going rate for the stage 2 stuff at the back is from Adamesh, but significant.
Yeah, I think it was about 440 I paid last year. Yeah.
I'd sort of got in my head about £500, I think, for the two, the tail pipes and the over axle pipes.
Yeah.
And then your next evolution, obviously, is the secret car that you revealed quite recently. What have you bought? Tell everybody.
Yeah, it's my barn find Lotus Esprit, my 1979 S2 that needs everything, dude. But yeah, it was just one of those situations where I saw it for sale, and it was by no means a sensible buy, but just had to do it. I think just a once in a lifetime type opportunity to go with that. Probably should have told my wife I was buying it before I did.
Well, I think our tastes are very, very similar. Very obvious through conversations we've had on the comments and a few emails, plus the videos we both do. And you can guarantee I would have done exactly the same if I'd have seen that, including don't tell anybody else about it.
Well, it's exciting, but daunting. But hopefully it'll be good, and hopefully I'll be able to share what I can with people and what I get up to with it.
Now, before we did this, I'm going to wave 2 post-it notes just to prove this. Myself and Mark had a conversation off the back of an email that involved 2 post-it notes, which was 2 lists of 3. What 3 cars do we think realistically may end up in our little fleets at some point over the next 10 years? And of course, that doesn't account for somebody saying, I've got a barn find Esprit, because you're going to buy it. It's obvious. But, just a bit of reasoning about tastes and realities. What would they be? And I've got a second post-it note, which is 3 cars that I really would like to have, but for one reason or another, I don't think is going to happen. Certainly not in the next 10 years. So I thought we'd do a sort of you then me, and just compare notes and just see what they were like. So on my list of cars I genuinely think are going to end up in the fleet, the first one is probably not a huge shocker, if I'm honest. And I'll say now, I have restricted myself to 1 Jaguar on this list. Because reality, I want the entire 1980s, 90s fleet. They all light my candle. But I'm going to have, at some point in the next 10 years, probably quite soon, if I'm honest, a Jaguar X308. So the XK8, the saloon. And my reasoning behind that, it's essentially a 4-door XK8. It's the same era, it's the same technology, it's the same engine. I know how it works, and it would just be an extension to the, understanding it, exploring it, tarting it up, enjoying running it. And I think they are incredibly cheap. You can genuinely go out and get one that'll run and not break down too often for sort of £2,500 to £3,000.
Yeah, it's good value.
And if you spent 6 or 7, you get a very, very nice car. I think they are really good looking. I think they're really undervalued. And I think they're prettier than the next generation of XJ, the 350, the aluminium bodied one.
Yeah, I think you're right there. I mean, the 308 has got that very distinctive Jaguar saloon look, hasn't it? That's been there for a while. And like you say, familiarity with the sort of drivetrain and things is a pretty good sway, isn't it? To pick up something which is not completely new.
Yeah.
And obviously, I mean, I don't know too much about the X308, but I'm guessing that they were sort of ushered in again under sort of Ford ownership. So you're escaping a bit of the perceived unreliability of perhaps sort of the Leyland type XJ series, which came a bit before.
We've lost a little bit of the Lucas effect, which is probably
exactly.
really, really rude to Lucas, but that's what people call it. It's the Lucas effect, this thing. So that'd be the first one on my list, but it's almost certain to happen. What have you got?
Well, actually, you mentioned the Lucas effect, so I think we should go there. So I haven't ever had an open car, so I've never had a convertible, just simply because either the cars I've seen I've either not liked the convertible version, or they've been more expensive for one reason or another, etc., etc. And similar to the MGB, I'd want something which is kind of a bit classic. So I've got down here a few sort of examples, but so I'd want something like a Triumph Spitfire potentially. That's something which sort of floats my boat, but maybe something a bit closer to sort of my MG obsession, maybe an MG Midget. And although they're sort of maybe not quite as nice looking as the B, they're a bit more affordable these days. So, or even a Healy Sprite, that would be pretty cool. They're similar, the same platform, I think, aren't they? Healy Sprite, that era.
The midgets are actually quite interesting because years and years ago, I used to do a little bit of sprint racing, so open circuit racing, to a very bad standard. But midgets and Healy Sprites were one of the cars that if somebody came along in one, you always knew it was going to go really, really well. Short, twisty circuits. They don't weigh much. A-series engines, so you can tune them to hell and back if you really want to. I think they're quite a cool little car. So I'd be right alongside you on that one. That's a goodie.
They've got that sort of quite good tinker rating, I think, which is what I'd probably look for in a classic.
Yeah. Plus the sort of flip up front effect.
Yeah.
Access is very good. Oh, it's practically an E-Type. Well, the second one on my list is completely different. So if I'm having an X308, I'm also, this one's almost certain as well because I keep looking. Citroen 2CV.
Oh, right, yeah.
That is obviously completely different. Yeah. And for them, they are so simple. Healy's pretty simple, the Sprite, but the 2CV, in a very French way, all the springs in the wrong places and everything else.
Yeah.
But the simplicity of the vehicle is just magnificent. And as somebody who doesn't need to go fast, the idea of a car that you can lean the wrong way going around bends, the windows are likely to come unstuck while you're cornering.
They're like wings, aren't they? That kind of come up.
Little flappy things with magnets on. Plus, again, they are actually a rising star of the classic scene. Yeah. And you can still got the odd cheap one, but it's getting harder. They're getting quite expensive. And I would like to have one of them before they start to get a little bit daft. And I think it would be a relatively easy car to restore, no matter how bad it is. Yeah.
It's probably a hand tools job, isn't it, to do a lot of stuff on there, I would think.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I guess I'll flip around my ones then to kind of go a bit with that.
Oh,
so I've got car for the people, which I guess the 2CV kind of is.
Mhm.
So I've gone for potentially a original Fiat 500. I think that would be a pretty good car to have.
Ooh.
So like a nice sort of little tiny Fiat 500 with the air-cooled
Yeah.
engine. That might be good fun. I mean, I did think classic Mini as well, because my mum and dad and my sister love Minis, but
Yes.
kind of in my family that's kind of their thing, and I think I'd stay clear of that. Do something different. So yeah, Fiat 500 would be ace. I mean, they're kind of already gone up in value, but
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd love to sort of have one of those. I mean, if I ever got a big garage or something, one of those tucked in the corner would be quite cool.
That's a nice toy. That's the little Vespa of the car world.
Yes, indeed.
Actually, the place I bought Purdy from, which is called Town and Country Cars in Cleethorpes. I mean, they're Jaguar enthusiasts more than specialists. They'll do anything. But the car that they were building when I collected Purdy was a Fiat 500.
Oh, nice.
They'd completely stripped down and were just started to put that together. And it just struck me how small they are.
Yeah, tiny.
So, I can really relate to that. That sounds excellent fun. And the Mini front, too expensive, I think. That's the real problem.
Because you'd want a 60s one, and they're crazy money nowadays.
Absolutely.
And I think that's part of the danger, isn't it? The classic car market kind of going that way, because you kind of remove some enthusiasts from the scene in some regard. So, like you say, classic Mini owners probably years ago aren't your wealthy collectors that are sort of scooping up the best examples today. So, it'd be a shame to see a lot of these cars end up in collections behind closed doors for years and years as investments. But
good one. Well, the hard bit about this was, I mean, I know I set the question, but it was, how do you nail it down to just 3? I'm going to have 8 or 9.
I spent ages on this list.
Which one? Because some of them I wrote down I want, but I can't tell you why.
No.
So I've had to kind of rationalise it. And the last one to go on my list, Dolomite Sprint.
Ah, yes. My uncle had one of those, and it was always propped up on axle stands being worked on. I don't think I ever saw it run.
I know. It's a stupid idea. They are very prone to rot. And although the engines are fantastic, they're also, I think, quite prone to head gaskets and leaks and all the rest of it.
They twin cam those ones.
Yeah, it's a 16-valve twin cam 2-litre.
Right.
And I think you can trace it back to the Lotus twin cam.
Oh, okay.
If you dig hard enough.
Yeah.
And yeah, I just think that's a really good looking car. Again, totally underrated. I think it's the British 3 Series of its era. And I don't think there's a lot else out there that's a classy, sporty saloon. If you go to the Escort, it was a different thing. And I know they're worth a fortune now, but at the time they were tin boxes and the Dolly was a little bit more classy.
Yeah.
And I do like the BL stuff, that sort of the group and feel. So yeah, Dolomite Sprint.
Yeah, it's a good choice. I think, but that's again because they're sort of saloon cars. The Dolomite Sprint probably survives quite highly, but just regular saloon cars, they've all kind of disappeared now, haven't they?
Yeah.
I mean, when was the last time you saw like like an Escort 1.3 popular or whatever? They've all gone to the scrapyard, unfortunately.
Exactly. So rare, good looking, quite sporty, very unreliable and rusty. I want one.
Perfect.
So that's my number 3. What did you put for in the end?
So my number 3, again, something completely different to what I've got at the moment, and it's more of a utility type car. So I did think maybe like a classic Range Rover or something, although they're really expensive now, or a camper van like yourself. And that's kind of what I'd be looking for in a car, something to actually take the family out in. And this is a bit of a left field choice here. And I'm actually quite a fan of the American style day vans, if you've seen those ones, like the old Chevys that you used to knock around. The newer ones, like the Chevy Astros, they look quite nice inside, but maybe a slightly more sort of 80s version of that would be pretty good. Just, one with just like a couple of seats at the front and a bed in the back or something.
A picnic machine, really. Rather
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I totally get that, because again, I'm into sort of Volkswagen scene,
Right.
but the reality of it is, although we camped in the vehicles, they're not our holiday homes. They are. We live close to a beach. We drive one to the beach. We sit up on there with a cup of coffee. We generally get chatting with other people who've got similar cars and similar tastes, and it's lovely. And then we come home again. So that's sort of, it is the day van side of it.
Yeah.
Where actually we like. I think at the last auto jumble that I went to before everything locked down, there was a guy who'd got a Ford Econoline.
Oh yeah.
Very distinctive front end on them with the two headlights and false grille. And that was done out as a day van and really, really lit my candle. It was, again, totally nonsensical choice, particularly for the UK. I think quite a lot of Americans tune into my channel. I don't think they recognise just how rare it is to see an American car.
You never see them
in the UK. Yes, we've got, a band of enthusiasts looking after 50 Chevys and all the rest of it, and the odd person who may have a Corvette. But you just don't see American cars. And American vans, even rarer.
Yeah. And the good thing about the American vans is that they normally come with like a V8 or a V6 or something. Yeah. And they sound pretty meaty going along too. So a bit better than a diesel.
Fantastic. Well, I think that's absolutely proved equality in taste is absolutely up there. So my second post-it was the three that I really would love these, but I'm not going to end up with them for various reasons. And I'm just going to hit you with the three and see what you think. And again, it might cross over.